Gleam clapped. "I will escort you into hell, but you must first invite me into your realm." Demons follow vampire rules? Reaching beneath her grandparents' bed, Sam dragged out a pair of scuffed combat boots. She slotted her feet into the shoes, tightening the laces. Demons and vampires are practically cousins. A common demon such as myself cannot travel between realms by their magimancy alone, not without a substantial amount of prestige. Demons and vampires were like cousins? Vampires were a thing? A real thing? Dust bunnies clung to the black backpack purse Sam slid out from under the bed. She brushed off the grime. A collage of pins and patches covered the bag. Dozens of jingling keychains and charms dangled from the zippers and loops of hardware. And, in a secret spot sewn to the interior lining, was a Taylor Swift Reputation tour patch no one could ever know about. Hugging the purse to her chest, she peered up at Gleam. "Are there vampires in hell?" "If you possess an affinity for the undead, there are several in my book club to which I may make introductions." Sam's heart leapt. Vampires were real. Bloodless sprang to life. If she went to hell, she'd be just like the main character, and, maybe, if she was lucky, one of those vampires might fall in love with her, might turn her. With a blank expression and a trained, neutral tone, she continued her questions. "If I go to hell, will I be able to leave?" "Certainly." "This'll be a short trip?" "Brief enough to leave you eternally wanting." Sam sucked on her lower lip. Strawberry-flavored chemicals poisoned her tongue. "Do I have to say anything special to invite you in?" "Not at all. All you need do is wish and use my name." Closing her eyes, Sam wished that Gleam appear. A loud click and electric buzz had her wide-eyed again. The TV had shut off. The bubble screen was dull gray. She jumped up. A wave of vertigo sloshed her thoughts. Cigarette burn spots blacked out bits of the room. Swaying, she caught herself on the bed. The crocheted throw strewn over the mattress bumped under her palm. The porcelain dolls Grandma collected clinked together. Head pounding, she rubbed her forehead while she waited out the dizzy spell. The last time Sam ate was yesterday morning. Egg whites coated in zero-calorie cooking spray. She didn't like eating, didn't like the feeling of anything inside her, so she put it off as long as possible. Black coffee and sugar-free energy drinks fueled her. Once she got used to starving, she never felt hungry. She just felt sick and empty all the time and had a perpetual headache. Weak legs shaking, Sam looked all around, not seeing the demon until she noticed a darker shape against the shadows in the far corner of the room. Gleam sandwiched himself between the mirrored dresser and the looming armoire next to the bedroom door. His body congealed in the gloom. Solidified, he broke away from the darkness, which clung to him like a spider's sticky web. At the front of the room, he paced, taking in his surroundings with interest. Besides dolls, Sam's grandma also hoarded collectible spoons, thimbles, and magnets. A set of spoons representing states her grandparents visited hung on a wooden plaque near the armoire. Gleam touched one. Black stiletto-shaped nails clicked on the tarnished nickel. The demon's uncanny aura filled the room. She couldn't look at him long without blinking hard or averting her eyes. Lethal force radiated from him like the whipping tentacles of a venomous anemone. She edged away, climbing onto the bed and suddenly unsure of the creature she'd brought into her world. "Why bother taking me to hell?" Sam broke the silence. "What's in it for you?" Unnervingly fast, Gleam swirled from the souvenir spoons. Hunger lit his gemstone eyes. The smile he flashed at her was too wide, too pointy. As he spoke, he advanced, and she retreated until her back thunked against the wooden headboard. Hell's meant for the talented, yet unrecognized by the world. You, my dear Samantha, are exceptionally talented. The beginnings of a smile wiggled the corners of Sam's mouth. Pursed lips crushed the tell. Demons smell talent? We smell souls. Too swiftly for her to escape, Gleam closed on her and cupped her cheeks in his hands. The demon's touch was cold and smooth like stone. The bands of his many rings grazed her skin with their chill. Power thrummed beneath his skin, which tickled her face. Anise perfumed his suit. Bent close to the top of her head, he inhaled. Your soul smells of night fires in autumn, old wood, rose. There's aged paper in the cinnamon spike of terror. Gleam pulled back. A potent bouquet indicative of a unique talent manifest only in a realm heady with aether. Not this sober prison. He released her. As for myself, talented humans possess considerable value in hell. The dragon's descent marks the sole occasion commoners such as myself may cross and carry you through the realms. The etheric barriers usually separating us are thin at this time, and will be for the next several days. Demons who present talented humans at the Crimson Carnival receive vast quantities of prestige. With enough of it, perhaps I won't be common for long. That's what's in it for me. And for you, well, with all that lovely etheric vapor you humans generate, magimancy becomes heightened. And, with all of you together, miracles become possible, wishes bestowed. If to be fearsome is what you wish, you will receive it. Stepping back, he held out his hands. I shall have my prestige, your wish will be granted. All are satisfied. And I can leave after that? You can. Gleam's inviting smile strained at her questions, and when she opened her mouth again, he silenced her with an upturned palm. You ask overmuch. There are other humans, other talents. Perhaps they are more daring than yourself. Chin nestled between thumb and index finger, Gleam assessed her. Less dull. Sam's throat tightened. Her back jolted straight. Lurching forward, she clawed her fingers into the crocheted throw. I want to go, I just had to be sure. No one was getting her wish. In hell, she was going to get exactly what she deserved. Gleam beamed at her. Splendid. We'll be needing a portal then, and for a portal to hell, we'll need a spark of aether, something stolen. He winked. And blood. I swear I'm not bitching, but why those things? Your curiosity and caution is to be commended. It is I who could do with a bit more patience. Now then, aether, etheric vapor or spirits, is the substrate and conduit upon which magimancy is worked. It is abundant in my realm and weak in yours. To create our portal, we must generate at least a spark of aether between us. The portal, being a creature of hell, determines who enters and who does not. You, Samantha, are a special girl whose soul screams for us, but simply because you belong in hell does not mean you can survive it. The portal will decide. Can you take what should be yours yet isn't? Can you tolerate and inflict pain? Hell must know you can endure it to manifest. Even for a short visit? Even for a short visit. Does it have to be my blood? No. When she slid off the bed, Sam combed her fingers through the tangled waves of her hair. Clumps of it came free as she paced the room. Black strands fluttered to the floor. As her weight dwindled, she lost more and more. What should be hers but wasn't? A tiered jewelry box on the dresser caught her eye. Grinning, she rushed to the box and hinged open the lid, sealing the top tier. Rings wedged between tight rows of velvet-upholstered cushion. When Sam was little, she used to take this jewelry box onto her grandparents' bed. She'd dump out all the rings, scoop the pins and bracelets and necklaces from the drawers, and put them all on. Heavy with costume jewelry, she'd pretend to be a princess and order around the porcelain dolls. Now she pried out a ring she'd always wanted and cupped it in her palm. A wedding ring glimmered in Sam's hand. The ring belonged to her mom. Ropes of textured gold braided into a wreath of band. The marquise cut diamond flecked rainbows over her skin. She slipped it onto her left middle finger. Sam's mom never wore her wedding ring. She called it a fancy collar. Since she didn't care about the ring, she left it lying around, and anything anyone left out long in Grandma's house quickly annexed into her possessions. Anything shiny, Grandma snatched up to keep safe. Not that she ever told anyone what she kept for them, or where, but Sam knew all the secret places. No one could keep anything from her for long. "This should be mine," she said. Nodding, Gleam pulled what looked like a fancy pen from the inside of his jacket. The instrument was larger than the cheap plastic pens Sam used to scribble out her creepypastas, and crafted of polished brass. Symbols etched into the metal from its flat top all the way to its sharp nib. The demon gripped the object in his blue fist, then extended his hand to her. Rings glittered on all his fingers, some stacked 2 and 3 together. Faint luminosity shone from a few of the more breathtaking gems. Sam thought she detected the whisper of a haunting melody, but it was gone in an instant. One ring, around the demon's middle finger, bared the fangs of its vacant setting at her, the silver molded in the shape of a hissing snake. "We must generate the first spark of aether together. Once ignited, the magic will burn true even in this constipated realm. You see the snake there?" Sam nodded. "Touch your finger to its open mouth. I'll do the rest." Sam stretched out her fingers, then recoiled. Reaching for the ring was like reaching for a real snake coiled and ready to strike. A sudden blaze of anger burned through her. It was a lump of metal. It wouldn't do anything but get her to hell. Thrusting out her hand, she jammed her fingertips into the serpent's eager jaws. Fangs dragged over Sam's skin. The silver froze under her touch, the cold so absolute it became a white flame that branded her flesh. A zap of electricity snapped against her fingers. She jerked away her hand. The odor of scorched hair wrinkled her nose. A prick of emerald light stuttered to life within the serpent's jaws. An icy claw of pain raked over her heart. An aching pull sucked at her insides. The sensation fluctuated in tandem with the growing brilliance pulsing in the snake's mouth. When the green light shone steady in the setting, the strange feelings subsided, but a barren loneliness remained, as though Sam had lost something exceptionally precious, though she couldn't name what. A worrying rub of her thumb twisted the wedding ring on her finger. Green light reflected in Gleam's crystal eyes and gilded the edges of his cheekbones. Beautiful. Taking the brass pen into his right hand, Gleam stabbed the nib into the emerald star's center. An accompanying prick at Sam's heart made her gasp. With the sharp end of the pen coated in glowing green, the demon drew symbols onto the air that flared to a golden radiance. What is that? The painful flutter of her heart made Sam's voice breathy. "Aether," Gleam said, "channeled by my clave and formed by arithmetic. A very basic but reliable magimancy." "Aether. Magic," Sam gaped. "Where does it come from?" "Most aether comes from the aether world, a formless place that seeps between all the realms. This world is so dense, not much aether comes through naturally, so we had to plumb an alternative source." Gleam smiled. "This aether comes from you. Humans are great aether generators, largely untapped sources of grand power a paltry few of you ever learn to harness." When the demon finished his work, a circle of bright marks branded the air. The circle's interior shimmered as though filled with heat waves. "All we need now is blood." Gleam tucked his clave into his jacket. The suit's violet lining flashed Sam. "Oh, I need a pin." She snatched up her purse. Before she could fumble with any of its decoration, the demon caught her shoulder. "I have one you may borrow." Gleam bowed, presenting the brooch adorning his lapel. Sam had noticed the brooch earlier. From afar, the jewelry looked like a cluster of pearls and diamonds arranged to resemble wings. She'd assumed the wings attached to miniature hinges because they flapped when the demon moved. She'd been very wrong. A naked pixie boy with pale moth wings decorated Gleam's jacket. Gems sprouted from his moonstone skin. Pins with ruby heads stuck through his hands, feet, and heaving chest, impaling him to the demon's killing board lapel. Gleam drew the pin from the creature's chest. He licked off the white residue coating the silver, then handed the pin to a shaking Sam. With the pin poised over her finger, she paused. Exaggerating her trembling, she turned teary eyes on the demon. "Would you hold my hand?" Gleam chuckled. A statue hand slid beneath hers. The contact sent a violent jolt through Sam that snarled her lips and narrowed her eyes. Fingers clawed into a trap that latched around his wrist. Heart pounding a ritual beat, she stabbed the pin down hard into his palm. With a shout, Gleam wrenched away his hand. He yanked out the pin. A line of black blood wept over the side of his palm. A growl rumbled in the demon's throat. Fisting his wounded hand, he raised it high like her dad did whenever she took the blunt force trauma of his unrelenting hair-trigger rage. She flinched. Ethereal laughter filled the room. The otherworldly voice brought the demon back to himself. He lowered his hand. "That's a first for you, isn't it, Gleam?"